Welcome to the first episode of what I am calling Randumb Tech Talk. This is going to be very different from the normal content that I put out there, which is fairly well not scripted, but planned in advance. And I edit it to make sure that I'm covering up all the ums and the ahs so that it is bearable to watch. But in this type of format, we're going to do something where it's a little less structured and a lot more casual. So what I want to do is kind of cover some of the news and the tech industry, if you will, and then also tell you kind of what I've been up to. And then lastly, finish up with reading some recent comments and perhaps addressing any questions that people may have had on the videos that I've recently published. Okay, so let's jump right into it and start with the news. So as many of you are aware, the Canon R5ii was released, or it was, I guess, launched a couple of weeks ago, but it was just released and got in the hands of people over the past week. Preliminary reviews of this camera is that it is a worthy successor to the R5, but it's not like mind-blowingly better. So if you shoot stills, you probably don't need to upgrade. But if you do use your R5 for video, then the R5ii is definitely a camera that you want to consider moving forward. Now, one of the big differences is in price. It is expensive. I think it's like $4,300. So that with the 24-105 kit lens is like over $5,000, which is a big chunk of change. So what I'm seeing out there right now is that even my local camera shop has plenty of these cameras in stock. I think they just recently sold out of the body only. But in terms of the R5 Mark II with the kit lens, that 24-105 f4 lens, they have plenty of those available. So I think that tells us a couple of things. One is that's price on that camera, especially since it's brand new and just recently released, is probably a little bit too high for that camera combo. But secondly, it also shows, since they are sold out of the body only, that many of the people who are purchasing this R5 Mark II are people who are already in the Canon ecosystem. I don't know that many people are going to switch from other brands to Canon specifically for the R5 Mark II. What I do see happening is that a lot of people are switching brands, not over to Canon, but instead they're going over to Nikon. Nikon bought Red, and as a result, I think a lot of people are kind of like hedging their bets that over the next couple of years, Nikon is going to have a much better performing camera for video. They're already really good, but I think moving forward, again, with that Red integration, if you will, that cameras like that are going to sell very, very well. It'll be interesting to see actually what happens with Red itself, whether they just steal that technology and put it in their Nikon cameras, or if they keep Red a separate brand and keep that stuff really proprietary to that. I don't know. Flip a coin and you tell me down in the comments what you think is going to happen with Nikon. And then lastly here, let's talk about, well, I guess two things. One other thing I want to talk about, again, this is unscripted, so I apologize if I'm all over the map, but I do have a couple of notes here, but we're going to try and get through it as best we can without really looking at the notes. But the one company I did want to talk about, in addition to Fuji, was Sony, and we're going to get to Sony in just a second, but let's talk about Fuji for a second. So Fuji, if you have been following this channel, you know I started my channel actually using Fuji equipment, and I quickly realized that for my use case, which is standing in front of a camera or sitting in front of a camera like I'm doing right now, Fuji was not the best solution for my use case. And then I really dug in and I was like, well, am I doing something wrong? Like, is this something in the settings I don't have configured properly? So I tried like a million different ways to configure the camera. At the time, I had an XT4 and I also had an XH1, and I tried an XS10, which is supposedly like the best autofocus at the time, and that was just absolutely awful. So I made a couple of videos, and when they launched the XH2S, I noticed immediately that it was just like more of the same. And at the time it was, I don't want to say controversial, but there was a lot of hate on my channel from people that were just like, you don't know what you're doing, you don't know how to use your camera, you know, Fuji autofocus is fine. Well, here we are like several years later, and it's pretty obvious that they have completely botched that autofocus system. It is just not good, and it's getting worse. There's this guy out there, Edvard, I think his channel is. I'll leave a link to his channel down below, but he's doing a fantastic job of just exposing Fuji for the poor firmware updates and the poor performance compared to some of the other brands. In his most recent one, he just shows like how the Sony works compared to the Fuji, and it's like night and day difference. And I tried explaining this in my videos, didn't work, and it wasn't nearly as effective as his, but the idea was the same. When I bought into Sony, I almost cried myself to sleep because it was so good and so easy, and I wasn't making mistakes. And I could trust that the footage that I was going to get out of my camera was in focus and looking fantastic pretty much every time. So if it screwed up, it was definitely a me problem, not a camera problem, versus with Fuji, it was definitely a camera problem and not a me problem. So I feel a little vindicated now that we're a little further down that road, and not, obviously a lot more people have come to the same realization that the autofocus specifically in video mode for Fuji is just not good. All right, enough shade on Fuji. Let's talk about Sony. Sony has been awfully quiet. I put a video out talking about the A7S IV, some of the changes that I'd like to see coming, and there are rumors out there that they are going to drop the A7S line entirely. I can't imagine they are going to do that. The number of A7S IIIs that they sold, I don't know what the actual numbers are, but it is a ton of cameras that they sold in that A7S lineup. And it was the same thing for the A7S II when that first came out. So I can't imagine they're going to give up on a line, especially when they're constantly adding more cameras for and creating new lines like the ZV line and all this stuff. So I can't imagine they're going to get rid of that A7S line. And I think it's the next camera coming. Again, Sony has been really, really quiet, and I think I saw someone that had some trip planned to some Sony condo trip coming up, and might have been Chris Brockhurst. Anyways, so I think that something is happening in the Sony world. I don't know exactly what it is, but I would imagine it's going to be the next iteration of the A7S IV. And in my wish list for that A7S IV, and I really think this is going to come true, is 6K open gate recording. So what that will mean is they'll have to have like some type of maybe a 24 megapixel sensor. Will it be as good as a 12 megapixel sensor in low light? Probably not, but they might bake in some noise reduction into the file itself so that you really won't see any appreciable difference between the two. What would be really cool, although I would never use it, is if they did like 6K open gate raw recording. Some people would find that beneficial. Me personally, I would not, only because I just, the amount of storage space and what I'm doing with the camera, I mean, there's absolutely no need for that. I mean, half the time I shoot an 8-bit and no one would ever know the difference. But for some people who need that 6K open gate raw recording, it would obviously be a benefit. If they do that, or even without raw recording, even if it's just 6K open gate, I can assure you that the price is going to be significantly more expensive. It's going to be at least $4,000, if not, say, $4,200, maybe $4,300. It'll almost be in line with the R5 Mark II, which I'm not looking forward to, but I have sold a bunch of gear recently, including my A7S III, in anticipation of an A7S IV. So hopefully they haven't killed off that line. But if they have, I guess I'll just have to figure something out. In addition to that, I have also sold my A7R5 and my Nikon ZF in all of the Nikon lenses. I think what I realized was I just had too much stuff, and it was actually preventing me from going out and using my gear. So instead, what I've pared down my kit to now is the Leica Q2, the Ricoh GR3X, in a pair of A7C IIs and the DJI Pocket 3. So I absolutely love the Sony A7C Mark II. I think it's a fantastic camera, and it does like so much of what I need a camera to do. The only thing I wish it had was the type of screen that comes in the A7R5 where it flips out in the back. You know, it's like a four axis screen where it tilts out in the back if you wanted to, and also swings out to the side if you need it to. But all things considered, that's not that big a deal because I figured out a way to make it work even with the full flippy screen. So I've been very, very happy. And the reason why I bought two of them is because what I found is that when I am out, you know, using my gear, I hate, with a capital H, changing lenses. Can't stand it. To stop what I'm doing and take a lens off and put another lens on, like most of the time this is with my family. And if you have a family, you know what I'm talking about, right? I mean, the eye rolls you get, the screams, the yells like, come on, Dad, like this is ridiculous. We got to get going. So I cannot live that lifestyle anymore. So instead, I've actually gone out and got two A7C2 bodies. And the nice thing about having two of the same bodies is you can configure them exactly the same. So no matter which one I pick up, has a different lens. Right now, I have the 24-50, or it might have the 20-70 because I was doing something where I needed a little bit wider angle. So right now I've got the 20-70 on there. If I keep grabbing it here, I can just show it to you. Ooh. So this is the 20-70 on there right now, and I've also got the 70-200 f4G macro lens, the latest one from Sony, and I also have the 70-200 GM Mark II 2.8 lens that I barely use because it is so big and it really doesn't even fit in any of the bag. Well, it fits in the bags I have, but it takes up a lot of space. So I much prefer to have that smaller form factor of the 70-200 f4. And at 200 millimeters, the difference between 2.8 and f4, not really relevant. And if I need more reach, I have the 2x teleconverter that I can use with either one of those lenses. So anyways, having two A7C2s is awesome. I love this camera, and I think for most people, it ticks all the boxes. One other thing you'll notice here is this strap. I got this strap off of Kickstarter from a company called SPINN, and it has this plate that it comes with, or you know, just basically I don't know what you want to call this, but I don't know what to call it, but it's this plate that you attach your camera to, and it comes with a plate as well. But I use the Peak Design plates, and they fit in perfectly. So you just slide that in there, and you are good to go. And the nice thing is it has two attachment points on either side of this, so that when you put it on your shoulder, it actually lies flat against your body, which is, I think, pretty awesome. Most of the other solutions that I saw that did that, they were a lot less elegant, and this is super easy to get on and off. And so I can carry one camera on my shoulder like that, and the other camera on my capture clip, which is on the left side of my backpack. So as you can see, we are way off track, and that is okay because that is the purpose of talks like this. All right, let's move on to the next thing. I want to talk a little bit about Davinci Resolve. If you are not using Davinci Resolve, why not? It is an awesome editing program, much better than Premiere Pro or Filmora, or I know a lot of people use Final Cut Pro for a Mac. I use a PC myself personally, so totally up to you. But for me, Davinci Resolve has been like hugely powerful in being able to edit my videos quicker, and especially with something like this. This is the speed editor, right? And if you buy the speed editor, I think it includes a studio license. At least it did at the time that I bought mine. I'm not sure if it still does that or not, but the license is in perpetuity, right? I have it forever, so I never have to worry about updating the license. It'll just keep upgrading the software using that perpetual license that I have. Anyways, the reason why I brought Davinci Resolve up is because there is a recent update, Davinci Resolve 19. Now, it was in beta, now it's in final form, and it is fantastic. the biggest things that I've seen that are relevant to my workflow has to do with audio. So in the past, it was like a little convoluted. You had to go into the audio tab, and then it was like things that you had to do to set things up. And now it's just like all these things you could do right from the timeline, from the edit page. And it just makes the workflow so much easier. And the quality that you get out of the tools is just like, they call it black magic for a reason. It literally is magic. I'm not sure how they did it, but that's what they did. I'm going to pause here because I can hear my dog in the background clanging on her bowl, which tells me that she's hungry and she needs a scoop of food. So I will be right back in less than 30 seconds. And we're back. So where did I leave off? Talking about Davinci Resolve 19. Anyway, so use it, download it. There is a free version, but you got to get the studio version to get a lot of the features that are in there. And it's, again, $200, $300, $400, somewhere around there for the speed editor. And I think it includes the license. So that's the path that I would recommend. Next, I want to talk about something that a lot of other people have been talking about recently, and that is Adobe. So what in the world are they doing? It is just a mess. I've never seen a company like sabotage themselves the way that Adobe is doing. I mean, they're coming after creators, and basically they're attacking their primary customers. Leave the photographer or skip the photo shoot, I think was the tagline. Most of the people that subscribe to Adobe products are photographers or videographers or creatives in general. So to skip the photo shoot means just basically bypass the people that are paying for your software in the first place. So it was a huge blunder in terms of marketing message. Petapixel had the senior vice president of something on from Adobe, and she was like quintessential corporate speak, right? She was very well coached. She's a professional. She does this type of stuff for a living, and it was pretty obvious. They didn't do a very good job of pinning her down on a lot of different topics, a lot of questions that were asked by the creative community, and because of that, they took a lot of, they took a lot of flack for it afterwards because people were like, hey, you basically gave them a pass on a lot of these things. The biggest thing for me personally about this Adobe campaign to just, go after creatives is who made Adobe the picture police. Like, they are going to be getting into your library and making decisions as to what's appropriate and what's not appropriate, which fundamentally I have a real problem with. Not because I'm taking questionable images, but because, one, I've got people looking at my images, which is a problem in and of itself. And two, then they're making a decision on my behalf as to whether this is something that's appropriate or not. That is crazy. So I do have a subscription to Lightroom, and it's a whole Creative Cloud bundle. And I would cancel it like tomorrow if I could, but unfortunately, everyone says that there's a bunch of alternatives out there. I've tried the alternatives and they're just not nearly as good, or maybe it's just because I have so much more experience using Lightroom and Photoshop that they're just not feasible for me, at least not at this point in time. So maybe I do need to spend some time learning some of the other tools out there, but overall, I'm really disappointed with Adobe. Let me know down in the comments if you are also considering switching, and or maybe you have switched, and if you have switched out of Adobe products, which ones did you go with for a Lightroom alternative and a Photoshop alternative? Because again, I've tried a couple different ones. I tried Darktable. I was like, ugh, and the results were poor compared to what I was getting in Lightroom. And the same thing for, what else did I try? I tried on one, I think. And again, the catalog feature wasn't particularly good in that. So I was like, this isn't great. So I feel like I'm kind of stuck with Adobe, at least for right now. Let me know down in the comments. How are you managing it? All right. Lastly, let's jump into the comments for the channel and see what people are saying. All right, this is on my most recent video, The Magic of Vermont. I actually renamed it to Vermont Vacation using the couple of different cameras, and this is from Adam. I think his name is Adam Hassenmeyer, and he says, "Nice, really need to travel to the Northeast." Yeah, it really is a nice place to live. I'm surrounded by like beautiful landscapes, and it's just a nice area to live. Nice part of the world to call home. Talking about the mic handle in this DJI Mic 2. So if you don't know, the DJI Mic 2 had a firmware upgrade, and they changed basically the EQ of the DJI Mic 2 so that the transmitters sound so much better than they did when compared to what they sound like when they initially came out. I did not like them at all when they first came out, very boxy, but the new firmware update with the DJI Mic 2 is much better. It's much more open, and it really gets a little bit more high end, a little bit more of the higher frequencies in there as well. This is about my A7S IV, 6K open gate, haha. Panasonic have that almost 2 years, and it's less than half the price of a Sony. We need more. Only thing that really changed Sony would be an internal real raw recording. Okay, so this person wants real recording. And this is from SciYS9YG, A7S for that price. So yeah, so they're talking about getting Sony raw recording. Sure. I mean, I don't know if that's going to happen, but doubtful. But if it happens, maybe that's a good thing. This is about an old video. Actually, this is the Blue Spark. For those of you that don't know, with the Blue Spark microphone that I had, when you would touch the logo, the blue logo, you'd get this like really loud hum. So it was like your finger, your body was acting as the ground. So it really needed like some type of Faraday cage that didn't exist in the microphone. So you'd have to create something custom in order to do that. So this happened to a lot of people. And this is, again, an older video, but people are still finding this video because it's still happening to other people. Sony lenses. This is talking about, this is from Humble Buggy. Are you going to make us watch your stupid palm for 15 minutes? I don't know. Let's try it out. How am I doing, Humble Buggy? Love it. Talking about the DJI mic again. Yet Unbroken Pelvis says just returned mine because quality was terrible. Yeah, a lot of people returned it because of that reason. Let's get down to some other videos. Oh, this FX3 Gamut Display Assist. This has gotten tons of views, and it's because it's not intuitive how to turn that on, so I made a quick video about it, and people were very appreciative of it. Let's keep going down here. I said don't buy the A7CR, buy this instead. And in this video, I talk about how you'd buy the A7R5 instead of the A7CR, and I still stand by that. And he talks about James Williams 70 says shutter speeds, flash usage, and image stacking might be worth mentioning also, right? So they're going to be better on the A7R5 versus the A7CR if that's important to you. And here it is. So another one that says, this is from Sheer Creative. My question to you is, do you really need a Nikon body when you got multiple Sony bodies in a Q2? The camera does look so beautiful. Well, Sheer Creative, I can now answer that. And no, I do not need the Nikon ZF. I've since sold it. Oh, this is from some Tascam headphones. Again, this is an older review from the Tascam TH02. How long can you wear it without feeling tired or pressure on your ears? With the stock pads, like 10 minutes. Very, very uncomfortable. But you could put some aftermarket pads on there, and like any headphones, you put some aftermarket pads on there, and they typically are a lot more comfortable. This is about the Tamron. Oh, if you haven't seen this video, you should definitely check this out. This is the Tamron 28-200 versus the Sony GM Mark II 2.8, and this surprised the heck out of me that how good the Tamron performed compared to that Sony, especially for stills. For video, it's definitely a better performance on the stabilization side with the Sony lens. But if you're in a fixed location, or if you got a monopod or a tripod or something like that, using the Tamron lens, like, go for it. Now, full disclosure, I have since sold the Tamron lens. Not because it was a bad lens, but because I was just cleaning out a bunch of stuff that I really wasn't using on a regular basis, and that lens happened to be one of them. I had a lot of overlap with some of the other lenses that I have. And I think more importantly is I've made a decision to, moving forward, just purchase first-party lenses for my Sony bodies. The reality is they just perform better on Sony cameras than Sigmas, Tamrons, Mikey, like all the other third-party lenses. They're great, and especially for stills, if you're taking just stills, third-party lenses are absolutely fine. But if you're using it for video as well, the stabilization does not work nearly as well with third-party lenses as it does with native Sony glass. And then this was a recent video I did about the GR3X, and Ike Zender says, I think the problem is that you have too many small cameras to choose from. He's probably right, because I do have a lot of small cameras and I tend to use them. This says, same video, so the viewfinder situation is fair. Hesitate to get the camera. This is from Randumb, but I actually ended up not missing the viewfinder at all for some reason with the 28mm version. I especially liked it because it's easy to shoot from the hip. Yes, so I would agree that at 28mm, the viewfinder is less important, but the GR3X has a 40mm equivalent field of view, so the viewfinder is pretty important because you do need to get that composition right and make sure that you're focusing on the right things. Nikon ZF, so much love. This is from Christian 1983 Abel. So much love and you sold it already. Yeah, sorry about that. Let's see here. Another one about the GR3X. I'm in the same boat. This is from ZBLSK. I'm in the same boat. My GR3X gathering dust for 3 months since I got my X106. Love the output from Ricoh, but don't enjoy using it, but still don't want to sell it for some reason. Here. It's just, there's something special about the GR series. I don't know what it is either. I don't use it all that much, but when I do use it, I'm very happy with the results. And then this is an interesting, and we'll end it here. This is from C.Andre Mendez 8292, and this is talking about the GR3X. I think the root of your dissatisfaction can be seen from the way you have it set up. You have attached, from what I can see, a tripod plate and a grip, as if trying to convert it to something it is not. I suggest you try to use it naked, without even a protective case. Just carry it in your jeans and see where it takes you. That's the modus operandi of a lot of great street photographers, and where it shines. Cheers. Well, C. Andre Mendez 8292. I took your advice and I stripped it of absolutely everything that was on there and carried it in my pocket for my most recent trip to Vermont, which I showed you that other video earlier, and I used it a lot more, and I was very happy with the results. In fact, let me pull up my Lightroom catalog, which I have already to go, and show you what I'm talking about. So, okay, so this is not great, the way that it's displaying on here. All right, now you can see my mouse. So 31 photos up here. And then let's look at the breakdown. So again, you can't really see how, you can't see the names here. Let me see if I can do this. Hold on. Oh, there we go. Okay, so I got rid of the preview. So 31 photos, of which 15 were from the A7C II, 5 are from the Q2, and then 11 are from the GR3X. So let's just take a look at these photos real quick, and I will show you, kind of go through in more detail where these came from. Let me move my keyboard, make it a little easier for me. So this is one that I put it in macro mode, and this is just like a really cool picture of a spider. I mean, look at the detail in this thing. I mean, this is actually right before we left the house. This is in my backyard. I was like, wow, that's a really cool spider. And the sun was hitting it just right, so I just threw it in macro mode, and boom, I was able to get that image very easily. This is a stop in New Hampshire, just goofing around. Again, just grabbed it out of the car, threw it in my pocket, and then I was able to grab this picture. I guess this one you could probably grab with a cell phone too, but anyways, I had the camera, so I took the picture. Same thing here. We're stopping. Big Bear, my wife, 2 kids, and then my third kid here is taking their picture. So that was fun. And then this one is interesting. So this is one where I was on a kind of a ropes course. I guess that's what it's called. Kind of an adventure course, but you're roped in. And again, I had it in my pocket, so I was able to capture some unique photos that I probably would not have captured otherwise. And it looks better than what it would have on a cell phone. Same thing here, same type of situation. Again, the quality of these images is so much better than what you would capture with your cell phone. You even get a little depth of field. You know, this is at f4.5, but you can see you get a little depth of field, shallow depth of field there happening with the background. I don't know how clear that's coming through YouTube, but trust me, it's good. This picture of my daughter, picture of me, and this is at Ben & Jerry's. Again, I'm going through a factory tour. You're not going to lug around a big camera. They're not going to let you in with a big camera. So, and not like the A7C II is big, but it's certainly bigger and more noticeable than the GR3X, which I can just put in my pants, my shorts pocket. So I just pulled this out and I thought, it's kind of an interesting, great picture. It just reminds me of that day. It was a beautiful day. And then coming out of the tour, we had, that's their favorite ice cream, Americone Dream, picture of that. And then heading over to the Flavor Graveyard, where all of if you haven't been to Ben & Jerry's before, the factory tour up in, I forget where it is in Vermont, but definitely go there if you haven't been there before. It's a lot of fun. And that's it for that one. And then the Q2, which is normally my go-to one, I took some pictures of it, with it, but not a ton. This is just kind of a random road. It was kind of a cool sky. This covered bridge I thought was pretty neat too. Some interesting lights that they had on it. My twin girls having some fun at lunch. This is fun. This was a Cabot's store, and they had a snowboard on there which had tablespoon markings and teaspoon markings as well. And then just a picture of the crew just hanging out, eating some more ice cream. So, yeah, overall, I'm very happy with that suggestion. Yeah. So again, C.in Andre Mendez 8292. Thank you for that suggestion. That is something that I really took to heart. In fact, I can show you right now. The only thing I did put back on it that I took off during the trip was the thumb grip. I do find that I use the thumb grip, and it doesn't prevent me from putting it in my pocket. So it gets caught a little bit on the way out, but it's still like much better to do this than to not have the thumb grip. And I found myself putting my thumb on the screen, which was recomposing. The way I have my my screen set up is that when I touch to focus, it also takes the picture. So I was constantly taking all these pictures of like the right corner, which doesn't really help anyone. So anyways, I have absolutely no idea how long this video has been. If you enjoy content like this and just hanging out with me and talking about some tech stuff, then let me know. Drop a comment, smash the like button, maybe subscribe to the channel if you're not already. And for future reference, just let me know, again, what you'd like to see in these random tech talks. I appreciate you sticking around. Hope you're having a great day, and we will catch you in the next one. Take care.